I do like that when I'm in any city, anywhere in the world, people will come to me and ask me for directions.
People who are unhappy at home, it doesn't impact in the office. But if they're unhappy at work, it impacts the family.
Because that truly is the key for a woman finding that balance in her life where she can live the way she wants to. When you do something, and especially when you believe in it so much, it's very difficult to keep your emotions separate.
So you're happy I'm married. There's no other concept to it.
Yeah, my kids thought we were crazy.
Margie, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to HQx.
Thank you.
You are the first guest in the new season, and I'm delighted to invite you here. You know me a little bit from the HBS background. I run a company in the space of mental health. The podcast is something that complements our work. And I think mental health is really important at the workplace or at education. And you come from a very interesting background, ex-armed forces, and now you're into education at HBS, one of the most premium institutions in the world. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be the first guest on the Yellow Couch. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
A little about myself. So I came from a varied background. So I started in the military. I was in the Army Reserves for 8 years.
Wow.
My role there, I started out as a watercraft operator, but then in the US we had the Iraq War, and I quickly because I was in transportation, got reclassified as a truck driver. So I was driving giant trucks. And
did you do a tour?
I didn't do a tour abroad. I stayed.
Back,
In the US at that time, we were still using Vietnam War era tactics.
Right.
And so we were like digging foxholes, wearing army fatigues. And in 2003, things changed significantly to desert warfare.
Right.
And so I was part of a training brigade. We went to Washington, D.C., and we were retraining soldiers to go fight abroad. So I never was in combat.
Sure.
I didn't go abroad. And so
but you were
I stayed in
prepping
DC.
them.
Yes. And I have a conflicted, feeling about being a part of that machine, but over time that has sort of evolved and I've accepted it, my role. Yeah.
And where do you live?
I'm based in Boston because I moved there 2 years ago from New York City to take the role at Harvard.
Yeah.
At Harvard Business School, I'm the program director for the Senior Executive Leadership Program in India and the Middle East.
Wow.
And so I'm here quite often in India, and but I'm based in Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
What's your view on India and the talent?
I love India. I've been coming here now. This is my 10th visit to India. Every time I'm here, I come to Mumbai, but I also take an opportunity to go to different places around the country because our participants are diverse, and I want to make sure I get to see the diversity of India.
I get that.
Yeah.
What do you like most about India?
I mean, is it too broad to say the people?
People.
I really love Indian people and the hospitality, the culture. Every time I come back, I learn something new. There's a generosity that exists that you don't find anywhere else in the world.
True. Any street food you've tried?
And street food, I've had quite a few street foods. In Bombay specifically, of
Which
course,
one?
I've had the vada pav.
Vada pav. Oh, not
of
bad.
course.
Oh yeah, it's part of
Pani
Bombay.
puri, yeah,
Oh, Pani puri.
yeah.
Great. So we're going to today ask you a few questions.
Sure.
We'll make it fun,
Sure.
realistic. So how has your understanding of mental health evolved from your army background to what you do in education now?
So I would say, growing up, I actually was quite shy.
Oh.
I've always been soft-spoken, and when I was growing up, I was scared of everything. And so part of the reason I decided to join the military was because I thought that if I joined the military, I would toughen up, that I would get some mental toughness.
Yes.
And that's why I chose the Army. I chose the Army also because I wanted to go to the toughest branch. No disrespect to my Navy and Air Force fellow service members, but I wanted to do the hardest thing because I thought I would grow the most because of that.
Okay.
And Army boot camp was very tough, and I did build a lot of mental fortitude. But what I learned later was that just taking the decision to put myself in that environment was showing mental fortitude. It wasn't necessarily doing the boot camp. It was putting myself in an uncomfortable environment. And doing that has, over time, has helped me grow and developmental strength that I didn't think I would. And even this role, honestly, coming from the US and taking a role where I'm traveling around the world at HBS is something, it was outside of my comfort zone. Really, it's very comfortable and easy, to just have a desk job. And I wanted to get out in the world and experience things and see things.
So there are two things beautiful that you said. One is you chose hard then for an easy life later, instead of an easy then for a hard life later. And the second thing is Mel Robbins. You must have heard of Mel Robbins, right? I think I was listening to a podcast with her with Lewis House. I quite like Lewis House. And she said the one most important skill is to do the things that you don't want to do most when you're feeling uncomfortable. If you overcome that, and the days that you don't want to turn up, you land up and do the hard things, that's what takes you over the line. And what do you do on a regular basis to maintain your mental health?
I'm definitely not an expert in this area because I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself to always keep growing and maybe I push myself beyond what I should sometimes. So I think just taking time to reflect and to set boundaries, to be self-aware and know that maybe I'm taking on too much. Maybe I need to and it's okay. I don't have to do everything perfectly all at once.
So what are the regular things you do? Example, let's say exercise, meditation, journaling, reading, gardening. What are the things that you love doing that makes you feel good? That's the thing I would like to ask you. What do you like to do?
Because I travel so much, I don't get to consistently work out as much as I'd like. But I've learned over time that, again, just like with the Army, doing the toughest thing isn't always the most productive thing. Sometimes just taking some time in my room in the morning, in a hotel room, and doing yoga, doing a breathing exercise, that's enough. I don't have to put pressure on myself to run to the gym or run 2 miles or do something. I think that's really helpful. Reading for sure. I'm always reading. I know a lot of people are opposed to ebooks, but I have started...
Old school. The books, the hard copy is very therapeutic.
I've adopted using ebooks, and I find you can take it with you anywhere. Just put a small ebook in your bag, and it's, it's a great way just to sort of escape for a moment. And it's a form of meditation almost, because you get involved in the book. And I generally try to read a lot of fiction.
What I find more romantic is the hard copy.
I know. Most people do. I know. That's the thing.
The feel of paper.
I know.
And when I know research also shows that when you read from a hard copy, you retain more versus an ebook.
Is that so?
Yeah, it is. A lot of research shows that. And I'm a single parent, so I tell my son that I know there's a lot of screen, but read a book. It's much better.
I go back and forth, but for traveling purposes,
travel, I understand.
To have the ebook is just it's really helpful and really practical.
So I want to ask you, as someone who's done Army, then your basic education before that, then you must have traveled a lot, and now in the current job you travel a lot. How has your definition of happiness changed?
So I think so joining the Army, another reason for doing that is because I like structure. I like discipline. I like to have a predetermined path. And so, and I thought I would join the military. I would stay in for X number of years and I would get out. I'd work for the government. That was my plan. After the government, I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. And I thought eventually getting to the end of that predetermined plan would make me happy. I deviated completely from that plan. And I found that the deviations, is what brought joy. So the different experiences, people saying yes, being open to different opportunities and not sticking and just checking all the boxes on this plan that I had prepared is actually, the happiness wasn't in that. It was in the non-planned journey.
So what are the little things that make you happy?
Little things.
Which typically money is not correlated to money, the little things.
Money is not. So that's another thing.
So, what are the small things that bring you joy?
I find that even when I'm in India, just really, I enjoy just going out and walking. So I go on bandstand. And
you walk on bandstand?
And I love it.
I hope no one troubles you.
And no one troubles me.
No, they don't come for a photo saying, you're a foreigner, I want a photo with you.
Not here.
No, little kids. Little kids like to do that.
No, not sometimes here and there, but not so often. But really, I walk constantly. So I love walking. And especially when I'm traveling in new cities, I love to and not have an idea of where I'm going necessarily, just traversing around. That's something that makes me very happy.
So walks make you happy.
Yes.
Okay. What about coffee?
Coffee makes me happy.
What's your favorite coffee?
In India, that's one thing that is difficult is I like just plain drip coffee, just plain black coffee. Yes, I don't like Americanos so much. The watered down espresso is not what I enjoy. So I drink mostly cappuccinos when I'm here, but I'm at home. I love in the morning just having the coffee maker set, and it percolates, and then you can smell it throughout the house. And
it's the aroma of coffee is so good. So when we sit in the studio, we brew our own coffee. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good.
It is.
Your folks, where are they based?
I grew up in Virginia, which is mid-Atlantic of the United States.
Right.
And it's sort of a smaller provincial area. And then when I went to grad school in New York City, and I lived in New York City for 10 years. And so most of my family and friends are in New York City. And then I moved to Boston for this role about 2 years ago. But I claim sort of New York City as home because I miss it every day. And I really enjoyed life there. I think that's the place I was the happiest, was in New York City. There was a lot of culture. There was a lot of arts and just energy there. And actually, Bombay reminds me a lot of New York City, the energy.
I spent some time in New York. I studied at Columbia. I did a 6 months program. So Bombay and New York, kind of twin cities.
It is.
The energy is great.
I think so.
New York is great.
I think that was the happiest, was when I was.
And what do your folks, when do you see them? Once a year?
Yeah, because of the nature of my role that I'm traveling so much, I don't see everyone as much as I like. But big holidays.
So Christmas, I'm sure.
Yes,
Christmas
all the big
with
holidays,
them.
Christmas. Generally in the summer, take vacations in the summer. That's the slow season, June, July in the US. Yeah, that's always when everyone gets together. My birthday is actually July 4th, which is
July 4th. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, so America is celebrating your birthday.
Yes, there's always fireworks. There's always a party. There's always a cookout. It's a very fun birthday to have. So.
Nice. Okay. How do you stay emotionally present in the high pressure job that you are in?
Yeah, it's tricky because, and this is probably the area that I have the most opportunity to grow, because I gravitate toward these high pressure jobs and roles, industries. And like I said, I joined the Army because I really want the challenge, but sometimes I push myself a little too far. And I know this about myself. I put too much pressure on myself. And so to stay emotionally grounded, doing the little things that you said, like taking time to exercise, to read, to meet with friends, to see family, to build relationships. I think those are the things that keep you emotionally grounded and mentally well.
Okay, so we're going to do a fun assessment, part of what we do. So we'll do an emotional quotient assessment for you. Just a few questions.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'll give you options. I won't do all 10. I'll just ask you a few.
Okay.
So the first question is, how well do you manage stress in difficult situations? Poorly, somewhat, mostly well, or very well?
I think in that area, I'm able to say very well.
Very well.
For crisis management, I think that's one thing the Army did teach me, actually, is how to be calm under pressure, how to self-regulate your emotions and handle stress. So,
okay. How often do you practice self-awareness, like reflecting on emotions, actions? Never, occasionally, often, or daily?
Often, I would say.
Okay. And the one more question I'll ask you. How do you handle relationship conflicts with friends, family, at work? You avoid them, struggle but try, resolve with effort, or navigate smoothly?
I think maybe resolve with effort.
Okay. So this is some of the stuff we do. So I thought I'd ask you. Emotional intelligence, I think, is the most pertinent one at work. From the Army, even with relationships, right? If you have high EQ, you will thrive. Yesterday, I was reading something that people who are more compassionate as leaders get more out of their workforce done versus people with low EQ levels.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And does Howard still teach? Arthur Brooks teaches happiness, right? At
I think
HBS?
so. Yes, I'm not.
I get his newsletter.
Yeah.
I've not attended his lecture, but earlier there was Talban Shahar, long time ago. He used to teach positive psychology. Then there's Dan Gilbert at Harvard, who teaches. And I think Arthur Brooks teaches at HBS.
Yeah, he's a very sought after professor, for sure.
I sometimes I read about him.
Yeah.
Have you attended any of his lectures?
I haven't had an opportunity, no.
Yeah.
When you come to Boston, we can go together.
Oh, that sounds good. I would love to one day. My goal is to one day do a guest lecture there on the work I do, right?
Okay.
So, hopefully it will come true. My next question, if you could teach one emotional skill to the next generation, based on what you have gone through in life, what do you think it would be?
I think we've talked about now self-awareness, and I think that's something that's really important, to know how you show up for other people and to be aware of that. And as you grow in your career, you'll find that you might surround yourself with people that are always giving you positive feedback and are yes men. And I think it's really important to take time to maybe self-reflect, but also get other feedback from people about how you show up and how people view you, and get some outside perspective. It's very easy to get tunnel vision into maybe you think everyone sees you in a certain light and not to know how you're actually coming across. And so I think that's something that's difficult to do. It's uncomfortable sometimes to do, but I think it's really important.
Yeah. What's the best compliment you ever received? We'll give you a few seconds to jog your memory.
I don't know. I'm always uncomfortable when I get compliments for some reason.
Did you never have a stranger come and say something nice to you that you possibly could remember?
No, I think the compliments I get, so, in the current role that I'm in the program, I have 80 participants that, I'm sort of taking care of and I'm overseeing on a regular basis. And it's not easy. There's senior executives. And I'm also an American, and they're all mostly Indian.
And the Middle East, right?
And the Middle East as well. And I get sometimes a compliment that I really appreciate is that I'm able to, I don't have a facade. I'm there on behalf of Harvard, and I'm there and I'm making sure everything's going well and taken care of. But I also take time to make sure on a human level I'm connecting with them. And I want them to know that I care about them and their experience and their well-being. And I hope that comes across. And so I think there's this sort of way that you can balance being efficient and being compassionate and caring, and making sure that everything is very structured. And so that balance that I think I'm able to meet is when it's complimented, I appreciate it because I strive to be that way.
Have you ever had a stranger at the most random public place come and give you a compliment? No. Could be a coffee shop, could be at the airport, could be at a bookstore. Do you remember anyone?
No, but
could be a woman, could be a man.
Yeah, there's some compliments about appearance which don't matter to me as much.
Okay.
But I do like that when I'm in any city, anywhere in the world, people will come to me and ask me for directions or ask me for help. And I appreciate that because even if I don't know where I'm going, I'll stop and help them. But I think that means that maybe I have a friendly demeanor or a friendly energy. And I like that they feel that I'm approachable.
Right.
And so it's a sort of a subtle compliment.
If you could write a letter to your younger 21-year-old self, what would be the most important points that you would cover?
I think
I'm not going to ask your age, but I'm going to say that
no,
you're 21-year-old. No.
Yeah.
We go back and you write a letter to the 21-year-old Margie. What would you write?
Yeah. So I'm 42, by the way.
Oh,
and I'm happy to be. Yeah, I'm proud to be.
Yeah,
aging.
sure. You own your age.
Yeah, and 21-year-old Margie, I think, was very concerned about success, like thinking that maybe success would bring happiness. So again, this predetermined plan that I had, once I reach that plan, once I get this much success, then I'll be happy. And 21-year-old Margie should know that the success doesn't necessarily bring the happiness, but the relationships and the experiences you have along the way do. And so, like I said, deviating, I wish I hadn't been, I was a little, too focused on the plan and I waited too long to deviate. And I probably would give myself some advice to not worry so much. It's going to be okay. You'll figure it out. I was a little too disciplined and structured when I was younger. And over time, I realized that it's okay to go with the flow and to say yes more to things, even the unknown.
Okay, so Margie, there's a fun element. There's an in-house game that we have. I'm going to ask you to pick up one card from Connect, Reflect, Listen. So you could pick up any one of this that you would want.
I like listen.
Listen. Okay. Pick any random card. Okay. So I'm going to ask you. Oh, wow. Do you have a bucket list? If so, have you completed anything on it? I'm sure. So I'll twist it around saying, what is it pending on your bucket list?
Yeah, I think everyone has a bucket list at this point, right?
Yeah.
And I used to think that the bucket list was morbid, that it was like, oh, this is what you have to do before you expire. And I've rethought about that. And no, I think when it comes to travel, for sure, there's so many places. I've been able to travel so much. And the more I travel, the more I want to travel. Yeah. And everywhere I go and everyone I meet, gives me recommendations about places to go. Japan is on my list for next year during the Cherry Blossom Festival, for sure.
Wow.
I want to go.
It's over, right? The
It's in
season is over now.
Yeah,
right?
so April 2026,
Yeah,
I'll be able to go. That's on
wow.
that's the next list on the bucket list. That's the next
Nice.
place I want to go.
Okay, so I'm going to read out something from our HQ calendar for you. It basically covers various Japanese life philosophies. So I'm going to talk about Zen. I'm sure you know what Zen is. So it emphasizes direct experience and meditation as a means to attain enlightenment. You like meditation, you like yoga. It focuses on simplicity, mindfulness, and living in the present moment, encouraging practitioners to find clarity and insight through meditation, particularly Zazen, seated meditation. Zen teaches that true understanding comes from within and that enlightenment can be experienced in everyday life and not just through intellectual study. And I think that that's really what happiness is. It's within, through your daily actions. And there's a very nice African proverb I remember. If there's no enemy within, then no external enemy can harm you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you a copy also of my latest book. It's called Happiness Decoded. I hope you enjoy reading it. I know you've read my first book.
Yes, I did.
Do you want to say something about my first book?
No, I enjoyed your first book. So you were so kind to give it to me.
The first one is here.
In April 2023, it was my first trip to India. You were one of the first people I met here.
Yes.
And gave me my first impression of the generosity in India. And you gave me this book, and I started it on my flight back to the US.
Yes.
And I probably got about a quarter of the way through, and then I read a chapter every night after that to going to sleep. And I think I shared with you before, I felt like the book was very personal. I said, is it a memoir? And you said, no, it's not a memoir. But your personal stories really help better understand some of the things that you talk about, the themes in the book.
Thank you for your kindness. So I'm going to give you a copy of this. I hope you enjoyed this. And thank you for coming.
Yes.
I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Is there any message you want to give out to viewers who might be interested to know more about you and your journey into mental health and where you are today?
Yeah, I think just in our conversation and answering these questions, it makes you reflect and think. Taking time even just to consider some of these things about yourself can bring a lot of insight and reflection. And so I'm even going to continue to think about this after. But I think one of the biggest themes and the thing that I struggle with, and I think a lot of young people might also struggle with, is just putting too much pressure on yourself and thinking that happiness is something you can chase and not taking time to stop and just enjoy the experiences that you have along the way. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mandy. It's a pleasure.